Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and tell me about, like, are you a historian, or how did you come about writing this book?
My brother is a Vancouver historian.
I'm sorry, your name?
My name's John Macdonald.
Okay.
And I've always had an interest in history. I've done lots of historical, or had done previously historical research related to family history research that I've done. A couple of my wife's ancestors were early settlers in BC and Vancouver, so I had the book called The Surrey Story. It was published in around 1970, and I picked it up as I had many times before and looked through it, and there was a map in there that showed the route of the early trails, including the Kennedy Trail, and that's this map here. Okay. It's on page 15. And it showed the Kennedy Trail, and I thought, well, I'd like to find out more about that. Mm-hmm. This goes right past where I live.
Sorry, what was that picture there?
That was this picture here. Oh, this is about the Royal Engineers surveying. When they surveyed properties like Surrey, all the street system was laid out on a grid. Right. We measure things in feet or meters. Yeah. In the early days, and even in all the streets and everything that we know of in this area were surveyed using a chain, which was 66 feet long, had 100 links. Wow. So a standard city street, anywhere you go in the lower mainland, was surveyed as 66 feet wide. Huh. That's 100 chain. The city lots in Vancouver, a lot will be often 33 feet. That's half a chain. A number of these old maps show routes which are in fact the Kennedy Trail, but none of these ones label it as the Kennedy Trail. This one says to Mud Bay. Well, that's right where the Kennedy Trail went.
Was this a logging trail, or?
No, this was a trail built in 1861 by James Kennedy, and at that time the only population to speak of in BC other than First Nations was in New Westminster. New Westminster was only 2 years old.
Right. That was the capital.
Came in 1859. He was actually an architect by trade, and he was involved in several buildings. Oops, that's okay, let that go. In New Westminster.
Okay. Is that him there?
That's him and his wife. They were married in Ontario in 1854. He originally came from Ireland.
Ireland.
Came to New Westminster with his wife and son. So they were one of the very first, families to arrive in New Westminster. He built, like I say, he designed and helped and supervised construction of a number of buildings, including the Woodlands building, which recently was torn down. It was the first person to preempt land on the south side of the Fraser River. The problem was people like him that wanted to settle and have their own property. He couldn't find any property in New Westminster that he could own. All the land was taken up. He had to rent property and build a house on it. So and the highlands around Surrey and Delta weren't really suited to farming. They were covered in trees. So there was a lot of interest in getting to Mud Bay, where there was natural grass.
And where is Mud Bay on here?
Mud Bay is right here, when you go down the King George Highway, where Art Knapp's is, that's when you go down.
And why were they going to Mud Bay?
Because there was land more suited to farming. It wasn't all covered in forest.
Okay.
And
so basically, the farmers wanted the trail from the farmland to the city.
They wanted, the people, all the resources were in New Westminster.
Now let me ask you, what's left of the trail now? Can you is it a road now, or?
Good. No. Well, yes and no. Most of it, of course, most of Surrey, North Delta and Surrey are pretty well paved over and developed. Yeah. But there are actually what I've found is the beginning of the trail in North Delta still exists in Collings Ravine. Unfortunately, it's right on the path of the South Fraser Perimeter Road. There's a piece of it in Boundary Park beside the elementary school. Here's a picture from 2011. You can see it going up the side of Collings Ravine. One of the more interesting parts is in Panorama Ridge on Old McClellan Road, which this section is 56th Avenue and part of it is 56A. There's about 1 kilometer of pavement that you can drive on today that follows the route of the 1861 Kennedy Trail. So that makes it the oldest route in Surrey, you know, that's still used as a road. So that's my story.
Well, that's great.